everybody. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. I have been waiting for this show for a long time because a bunch of you are super concerned about it, as you should be. And you've been notifying me about IP28. And when are you going to have a show on IP28? When are you going to talk about IP28? And tonight, we're going to talk about IP28. What is IP28? Well, there's people a lot smarter than me and coming on the show to tell you about that. But it's the stupidest thing I have ever. I couldn't say that in the news days. Now I can. This is the dumbest thing I have ever heard of, and it's this is like what Measure 110 did for drugs. You know, it's going to do for people who actually eat meat or hunt or want to trap a rat or a mouse in your house or want to breed animals. You know, like rabbits or chickens or anything like that. These are crazy people putting out a piece of legislation. I think it's one more attempt to take Oregon. Have you guys noticed Oregon gets all the crazy bills? It's because they know they can start there. Oh, let's do it to Mikey. See what he says. They'll do it. Oregon will do it. And then we can try to make it happen everywhere else. Oregon and Colorado are the two states where people just tend to go, oh, that sounds good. Save animals. Yeah. Well, what about the hamburger you want to eat or the steak you want to eat or the turkey you want for Thanksgiving? You're not thinking through this stuff. And all those people that are signing it, and I understand there's quite a few, you better think about this because where's it going to come from? Or the other thing that we do all the time and very hypocritical is you'll still get your meat, but it'll come from another state. So you're doing the same thing. This is just virtue signaling. It'll come from another state and it'll cost you more money. That's my guess. But anyway, like I said, there's people a lot smarter coming on the show, like Amy Patrick. There she is. And what organization are you with, Amy, again?
I represent the Oregon Hunters Association.
Okay. And they're fighting this. Also, Adam Bratz with Mazama Sporting Goods. And Adam is our sponsor for this show tonight. So he's going to be talking about how this is going to impact him. And then we also have Eric Lee. And Eric, how does this impact you?
So, well, this is going to impact me in a lot of ways, just on the sportsman side of it, because they're talking about no hunting and no fishing. So that's a huge impact just on the Oregon way, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh. And dollars. I don't think people. I think there's a lot of people that aren't hunters or fishermen, and they don't understand how much money that brings into the state and how much of an economy that is. Amy, let's start with you and tell me, you're fighting this thing. What does IP28 do? I saw your poster and I almost put it up, but I thought, no, I'm going to let her just say it. But it's insane.
It is insane. And this IP28 it's not legislation. So first, I just want to make sure everybody knows that. So you don't have to call your legislator because unfortunately, they're not going to be able to help with this. This is an initiative petition that's trying to get on the ballot. So this is the third iteration of it. We've been fighting this for the last 4 to 5 years. So they've tried to make the 2022 ballot, then the 2024, and now the 2026. So this has been something that's been on the radar for a while. What they want to do is basically create a sanctuary state in Oregon where it would be illegal to kill an animal for any reason other than self-defense. So the way they want to go about doing that is they want to go into our animal abuse statutes and remove a list of very important exemptions from the statutes that currently protect things like legal hunting, fishing, and trapping, wildlife practices, management practices, trapping mice and vermin. Those are all protected from being called animal abuse because they're not, but they're also just protected in our statutes. So if they were successful in removing those, it automatically criminalizes all of those activities. So you can't hunt, you can't fish, you can't trap mice or gophers. ODFW can't do wildlife management practices, whole myriad of things there.
What about breeding like cattle, sheep? Mm-hmm. Isn't that on there too? Like
it is.
Dogs, cats. I mean, if you're a dog breeder, you couldn't, hunting dogs or just regular dogs, any kind of dogs.
Yeah, they do go into the statutes and say that they criminalize all the breeding practices, artificial insemination. They call it sexual assault.
What?
Yeah.
Now, wait a second. Mm-hmm. So by artificially inseminating a horse or a cow, which is the standard procedure, they're calling that sexual abuse, sexual assault.
Yep.
What a bunch of bullshit.
It is insane. There are times in the last 4 years that I've dealt with this that I feel like I'm losing my mind every time work with this and think who thinks of it and who would sign the petition. But the fact is they have almost 100,000 signatures right now. And
how many do they need?
They need 117,000 by the end of June. Now they're going to need more than that because the validity of signatures when it goes through the process, they're going to have more than the 117 to account for ones that aren't valid. But that's still an amazing number for them to have at this juncture. And it should be kind of a wake up call for all of Oregon that has some common sense to say this actually might get on the ballot this November.
So Amy, what would that do to like cattle ranchers?
It would decimate it. It would decimate all animal ag. And I look at, like, for myself, I live on a small farm. We raise cattle, we raise chickens, we hunt, we fish. All of those aspects of how we make ourselves more sustainable and more self-sufficient would be criminalized by this going into effect. So we could not slaughter a steer and put it in our freezer. We couldn't kill a chicken and have it for Sunday supper. And we definitely would not be allowed to hunt and fish. So it just turns everything about Oregon on its head.
So who's behind this?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Oregon and Colorado because there's a distinct connection between Oregon and Colorado on this. A similar initiative was run in Colorado at the very same time that this first hit in Oregon. And the gentleman who filed this and is the lead proponent of it moved to Oregon from Colorado and talks a lot about how they work together on a lot of things. So there is a very odd connection with Colorado on this. But he's a recent transplant into the state, obviously from Portland. And he's been the lead petitioner for the last 4 years on these.
Well, and so for people that don't understand the system, if once they get the ballots and they're qualified, then it goes on the ballot in November. But the problem in Oregon is, if you can get 117,000 people plus to sign a petition, it could very well pass, because look what happened with Measure 110. Remember the fentanyl starting epidemic, and people, and this is people outside Washington Square. And and standing there, and they're going, do you want to sign a petition that would protect animals from being killed and abused and sexually abused? Oh yeah. And somebody signs it, not looking at, how are you going to get a puppy?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to, I'm talking about just what would affect most people, but like cattle and sheep. And then what's going to happen to the price of these meat products, protein products, eggs, all that in the grocery store if Oregon has to ship everything in from out of state?
Exactly. And, everybody is worried about the carbon footprint nowadays, right? And now we're going to take away people's ability to buy meat from their local farmer just down the road. Now they've got to buy it from some unknown faceless place that now is shipped into the state. But it's interesting when you talk about the petition gathering. I have to share this really quickly.
Okay. No, that's good.
I ran into a petition gatherer at the Oregon State Fair.
That's awesome.
Right outside of the livestock gate, ironically, and had a fun, shall we say, interaction until my husband drug me away because I was making a scene. But the way that they solicit signatures is under the banner of End Animal Cruelty. And so that's how they're putting it out there and getting people's attention. In this particular instance, it was paid petition signature gatherers, and they were talking about 2 other petitions, and then they had this one sandwiched in between. So they were going through the gathering signatures, where you sign, and they were like, this one's for this one's for this. Oh, and here's another one that's a state level one. And I just happened to recognize the language in it, and what they were telling me, up front was completely false. So I knew exactly what it was and was able to have a spirited conversation with the gentleman.
Did you give him a verbal lashing?
I did, to the point where, like I said, my husband was like, I think it's time for us to go.
Yeah. That sounds like me with my wife. She'd go, Rick, we don't need to talk about this now. So Eric, you're a trapper. Is that, so you trap cougar when farmers or something, when animals are, to kind of explain to people what you do.
So when farmers, landowners have livestock depredation, You know, at that point, they don't know if it's cougar, bobcat, coyote. It's and be prove that it is in fact a cougar kill by, you know, specific ways that a cougar kills and what they do with a kill. And then once I can do that and determine that, and then I can go in and I use lake hold traps and cameras, because the cougar is going to come back for the kill, and I'll set the kill up in a certain way and I'll set lake holds around it. And then when the cougar comes back to feed, usually the next night, then I catch them and I euthanize them.
So is it more cruel to allow kind of a defenseless animal like that are in pens, you know, in fenced in areas to be killed by a cougar, or to go get the cougar? That's what I think is so weird, is they're deciding what is cruelty, their definition of cruelty. And somebody, Matt just said, he went on, one of the comments, went on their site, the people pushing this, promoting this, and it's heavily animal cruelty. That's all it is. You're stopping animal cruelty.
Right. And the way they justify it, they say, well, that's nature and that's what nature does. But in Oregon, as you know, and Amy knows, is we have a severe overpopulation of cougars. Because if I'll give you Measure 18, 1994. Okay.
Yep.
That is the same exact thing that they're doing on this, where they pushed it out as animal cruelty to dogs. And they put videos. I remember they put videos on TV of the hound dogs that were going after pigs, where they put the leather vest on them and a spike collar and all that, and these hound dogs would go after the pigs. And that's the visuals that they used on the TV back in '94. Well, cougar hunting with hounds is nothing like that. The dogs don't get hurt. The dogs absolutely love doing what they do. And the difference is everybody thought that the dogs went in. That is simply just not true at all. The flip side of that is cougar hunting with dogs actually allows hunters to be selective and get that cat up into a tree and then be able to look and go, oh, that's a female, let's let her go. That's a young tom, let's let it go. That's a good mature tom, let's go ahead and take it. So the misconception is going the same way it is on this IP28, is that they're pushing it towards animal cruelty. But then when a cougar goes in, just like the one I worked on Central Road, where the cougar went in a barn and killed 17, and the one I worked up in Blodgett, where the single cougar went in and killed 26 heritage sheep, they chalked that up as, oh, well, that's just what cougars do. That's what they do. But the reality of it is that we have so many cougars that the landscape can't handle a territorial animal, and all the younger cougars are being pushed out into these 5-acre little hobby farms and just out searching for food. And in a lot of cases, I have actually saw where females are training and have caught a family that female is training young cougars to feed on a specific farm. And I see that all the time. So where that measure hurt us, and now, you know, we should be able to, with cougar habitat, we should be able to sustain 3,300 cougars in Oregon. Right now we're over 7,000. And that's just their best guesstimate, because it's hard to, you know, really judge a population on an animal that is so, mysterious, I guess is a good way to put it. But so we're over 7,000 right now, and we're over 44,000 bears. I deal with both on a continuous basis. Sometimes it's daily, at least weekly. And I get countless pictures of cougars walking across people's porches, their back decks, laying on their back deck. They're just, it's a severe problem. So this is, so what it'll do for me if they were to pass this thing over is the livestock isn't going to matter at that point, right? Because we can't do anything to the cat, livestock, and we can't even. Why would we even have livestock in the first place if we can't do anything with it?
Right.
So
that's good.
Now you're going to run into the hunting and stuff. So the ungulates and all that, and the cervids are going to overrun, and we're going to have big mass diseases and problems with that. And then, you know, there's so many issues with it. There's a reason why we have ODFW and Fish and Wildlife Department. There's a reason why we had them using the science to keep our numbers in check, both on the ungulates and the cervids and on the predators. There's a reason we have that. We've already stripped ODFW of that chance to be able to run the cougars and the predators. Look at the wolves, look at the cougars, look at the sea lions, look at all these predators. They're unchecked. So now if you flip that to the other side, we're going to be ran over.
People need to educate. I've been here in Montana. I went out with a friend of mine who traps cougars. He trees them with hounds.
Mhm.
The hounds love
Mhm.
it. The animal doesn't get hurt until they find the one that
Yep.
they need to kill. And
Exactly.
a lot of times we were out there, and there were ones that he go, no, that's female. I'm not taking that one. We can't take
Mhm.
that one. You knew what
Yep.
was going on, and so, but people,
Exactly.
things die, and things can
Yep.
be predatory, and
Yep.
it kills me because in Montana we have grizzly bear, which you don't have there, and
Right.
and
Yes.
they're vicious. And people say, but even there, they're so protected. Like if you shoot one, you have to go to the federal government and the whole rigmarole.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, I don't give a shit. If a bear
Yeah.
is standing there and it's my life versus the bear, I'm going to plug that sucker in the head with whatever I got. I
Right.
mean, I'm not, what? No, well, dad died because he was saving the grizzly bear. Yeah, I'd like to
Right.
see all these people pushing this measure and signing this referendum, stick them in the woods with a grizzly bear or a cougar, and then say, okay, leave it alone. Just let nature take its course.
Well, and a funny the one of the cats that I worked on up in Blodgett, when I pulled up the driveway to the back of their car, I kind of looked over at my friend that was helping me because there was about 7 Biden stickers on the back of this car. And I don't get into political stuff and everything, but I asked him after we had took all the carcasses out of the barn, and I set up a plan of what we need to do, and I tracked where the cat went, and I tracked where he pulled some of the sheep. I asked the gal without even, I just said, so what did you think that you were voting on when you voted yes on Measure 18? And she just dropped it. She's like, I didn't think it was like this.
Yeah.
And
That's what they said when they
we sat
voted
there and talked for quite a
1910.
while. And she said, we watched it on TV and we thought it was horrible that those dogs were having to go through that. And these cats were getting ran to their death and all this. And we talked quite a while, and she's, I really wish I would have known better what we were voting on when we were voting, but they did not portray it the way it actually is.
Matt looks like he just looked up. They're paying $25 an hour in Portland, Eugene, Corvallis, and Bend, part-time and full-time for signature gatherers. So these aren't people who give a shit about the cause, you guys. When you sit there and see these people don't care about the cause. They're paid thugs coming out and just getting you, telling what they have to tell you to sell you the snake oil.
Yep.
And then you sign the thing, and then you screw Oregon. And it's ridiculous.
Sounds like it should start with an A.
Yeah. So, Adam, you own a sporting goods store. You sell guns, ammunition, fishing lures, fishing rods, things to find fish out of boats. I don't even know. It's kind of a stupid question, but what does this do to you?
Well, it will shut down the fishing industry and the hunting industry, obviously. So that's a big part of our business. And yeah, this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. One of the major sponsors for this bill that's financially backing it's out of San Francisco, and their co-founder was well known as saying that wild rodents are probably the most abused animals on the earth. That hardly anyone fights for rat rights. Rats have rights, and as this is written and as they imply, you could literally be charged with a misdemeanor for killing a rat in your house, or a business owner that owns a restaurant. One charge for every incident, every rat that you kill. It's 364 days in jail according to Oregon's misdemeanor A law, and a $6,250 fine. Or these people are proposing that if you don't want to suffer those consequences, you can volunteer for community service. And then on top of that, you will lose your rights to own an animal for 5 to 15 years.
You're kidding me.
It's on their website.
Okay, so all you dog lovers out there and cat lovers, so what does that do to Green Hill Humane Society?
Well, it gets some more volunteers, I guess.
Well, yeah, but what are they going to do? Oh my God. And I mean, look at the ramifications. If you start really going through this and the businesses that depend on all this stuff, what about exterminators? What about ants? Can you kill an ant? I mean,
an ant is not considered an animal. It's an insect. So this covers animals, birds, things with.
So these people behind this measure are supportive of ant destruction?
Well,
What
you
the
know,
hell?
when
How
you talk
can they
about that,
even face themselves? They squish bugs and spiders. So what? You don't care about spiders and snakes and bugs? Oh my God, these
So, and
people
how does
are
that work for a
heartless.
farmer that's trying to, okay, we take meat out of the equation. So this farmer's going to have, 55 acres of squash and corn and everything. How many bugs and grasshoppers and rats and moles and voles and field mice and birds and all that are dying in that? So does that take away? Does that mean you can't go plow your field because there might be a mouse nest in it?
I bet you people will push it that far.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't, what bothers me about this is, yeah, we are making fun of it and we're having some fun laughing about this, but this is
Real.
real.
It is. It's scary real. And I've spent more time than I would like to admit, watching their social media, listening to interviews that the proponents do, trying to understand, where they're coming from, the mindset. And it's probably the worst rabbit hole to fall into, quite frankly. But it's just something that continues to baffle me. And it comes from a place of not understanding at all. One, how livestock is raised, how livestock is handled. The thought that animal agriculture is this big bad evil, and they have no concept of large scale farms or small scale farms and how animals are treated in those respects. Excuse me. So it is absolutely baffling. Sometimes you have to laugh at it because you don't know what else to do, quite frankly. So, we do need to poke fun at it a little bit because it's just so crazy.
Here's the best comment of the day. Ashlyn Anders. The language with this makes me quite angry. Calling insemination of animals rape absolutely pisses me off. I've been raped. These are animals. Give me a fucking break.
Mhm.
Everybody should see that right in front of your
Yep.
face.
Yep.
This woman, Ashlyn, is brave enough to come on here. She's been raped, and you're equating her rape by some asshole to inseminating a cow to create an offspring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
and the same people who are pushing this shit are the same people who are out there going, women's rights and we need to protect women and rape victims and all this. And what is happening to our culture where we can't take one and one and put it together and come up with, oh, you do this and this is what happens. Ashley, you are like the bravest person I've
Yeah.
ever seen. I mean, that is a powerful, bold statement. And I wonder if that might be something that Amy might want to talk with you about. You could be, if you were open to that, Ashlyn, I don't know. I mean, you just came on here, but you might get in contact with Amy or she can find you on my comment section because you would be a very powerful voice in fighting this because that it shows the insanity and it puts a human face on that. And I'm not trying to get you into something you don't want to do. You can always say no, but I think you would be an amazing spokesperson to stand out there and just say, you're gonna a process to create a calf or a horse or whatever, and you're going to equate that with what happened to me. Shame on them. And I'm so sorry for what happened to you, but man, you are one badass woman. I mean, that is pretty damn powerful. I'm kind of sitting here going, I don't even know where to go with that because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Amy, what are the next steps that happen with this whole thing?
So the biggest thing right now is that this kind of thing, letting everybody know what's happening and what we're calling a decline to sign campaign, which means we just need to let everybody know what this really does. Very much like what Eric was just talking about with the gal who didn't understand what Measure 18 would have done. We have to make sure that all of our friends, all of our families, everybody that we know understands exactly what this would happen and make sure they understand not to sign anything that is brought to them that under this, guise of end animal cruelty. That's the best thing that we can do in the next few months. We will know in early July if this qualifies for the ballot. If it does, at that point, you can bet that there is. I work with two different coalitions against this already. One that's predominantly farming and ranching centered, and one that is the sportsman's community. And both of those groups are very, very ready to stand up a no on, whatever the ballot number this will be, but a no campaign for this. And that's where we're going to need all of Oregon that has the common sense, all the sportsmen's community, all the farmers and ranchers to make sure that they vote. So if you're not registered to vote, that's the other thing that we need to be doing right now is everybody needs to get registered to vote, because if this makes a ballot, I want to provide it with the biggest smackdown in the history of ballot measures. I would love to see it, if it makes the ballot. I want Oregon to stand up and say, no, this is not going to happen in our state. Stop bringing these ridiculous things to us. Stop pestering us and taking our time with these stupid things. Just an absolutely resounding no. And that's going to take everybody, everybody across the state being willing to register to vote, make sure they get out to vote, and voting no on it if it makes the ballot.
It's kind of interesting because let's say it does make the ballot. You're also going to have on there the referendum for the $4.3 billion that Governor Tina Kotek and her Democrat friends shoved down the throats of voters. And now they're trying to hide it and get it off there, but it's not coming off. So everybody's going to walk up to that ballot and they're going to see, okay, all these Democrats up for re-election did this and basically told me to fuck off. No. Tina Kotek, she went to shopping in Astoria when this was all going on. No. And then now you want to take away my ability to hunt and fish. Here's what would be interesting if that did pass. I don't want this to happen, but if it did pass, I think they'd have a hell of a time enforcing it. I think people would say, fuck you. I mean, come and get me. Come and get me. I mean, I think Oregon people are just to the point where it's like, you can't, no, I'm going to eat my steak and I'm going to raise a cow in my backyard, a steer, and I'm going to butcher it. And you can do everything you want. But if everybody does that, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? Because this is just so stupid, And
think about the agencies. You think about USDA, you think about ODFW. What would those agencies even be needed for at that point?
Yeah. So, Amy, Matt's saying he doesn't see anything like no on the IP28. I think more people need to know, like have a Facebook page or something like that, which would get out there. Cause I've had people call me and then I go, well, what is IP28? And then I saw your page and it's easy to explain to people. Here's the things you can't do under IP28, but it almost needs to be in IP28 and like a tagline, this isn't animal cruelty, like that. There is a website that the Farming and Ranching Coalition has set up, and I'm drawing a blank, unfortunately, on the URL, but I'll try to find that before we end our conversation, so that folks have a place where they can go and see some more information. Okay, Matt said there are both IP28 sites on Instagram and Facebook supporting it. So you can go and find out what it is that way, but do you want something that's telling the negative on what it's really going to do? Well, it's, the truth about what this is going to do.
Yeah. And the Oregon Hunters Association, we have a page specifically about IP28. We've had to change the name with every iteration because it changes the number. But I can also, provide a link for that. But if you go to Oregon Hunters Association's website and find our legislative news page, there's a link to our IP28 page. And that's got some graphics that I've made that are free for folks to grab and share that would talk about what IP28 would really do. We wanted to make sure and put those out there so everybody could have an option to utilize them. We encourage, especially with sports shows coming up, we encourage people to print those graphics out. Every sports show that OHA is at, we're going to have a bunch of handouts about it. I can make those available, to folks as well. And it totally encourage you to print them off, take them to any of those events like that, and really help spread the awareness.
Are you as people like Ducks Unlimited, are they involved in that?
Yeah.
Oregon Trappers Association is as well.
Yep.
Does the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, I know they're based out of my state, but they cover all that. Are they involved in any of this?
Yeah, we have a really comprehensive sportsmen's partnership here in Oregon. And so Ducks Unlimited, RMEF, Wild Turkey Federation, Wild Sheep Federation, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, TRCP, most of those big national groups are a part of it. And so we've all been actively working together When I talk about the Sportsmen's Coalition that's kind of ready to stand up against this, that's all encompassing of all of those organizations.
Doug Smith says, does this mean we won't be forced to buy a hunting license because we're going to hunt for free? Because sure as hell aren't going to stop hunting.
Well, and here's the thing. The other unintended consequence of this is that it would gut ODFW, because how is ODFW funded? By hunters and anglers, right? All of our license dollars and all of the federal excise tax that come back, Pittman Robertson and Dingle Johnson dollars, that's about 55% easily of ODFW's budget is all derived directly from hunters and anglers. So if that went away, that it would gut ODFW's budget completely.
So then who's going to, this is like, I almost said, so who's going to guard the hen house?
Yep.
I mean, this is the thing that people, we got to straighten out this system. I love the referendum system and I don't want it to go away, but it has to be plausible. And how is any of this going to be plausible if you don't have funds coming in? It's like, what is it about the borders of Oregon where people aren't thinking past, or at least maybe it's the borders of the Willamette Valley that go up down. If you don't live in rural Oregon or hunt or fish or any of this, you don't even think about this stuff. But how is it going to pay for itself? And who's going to monitor it? They're not going to have enough people to even do any of this.
Right. There's another aspect that we haven't touched on too, really quickly, and they're very open about this on their website. They will not make any exemptions for Oregon's tribal entities.
Right.
So that's a huge component that they're saying this would apply across the board, that they're not willing to make any exemptions from this rule about not killing animals, even for our tribal partners. And so that's a huge issue that they are going to be facing as well.
Because they wouldn't be able to fish for salmon anymore, would they?
That would, according to, how I interpret the initiative petition, and then according to their statement that they're not willing to make any kind of exception for the tribes. That's what I would be led to think.
Fishing or hunting.
Exactly.
Wow. Are the tribes coming to, are they involved with you guys? I mean,
they're very aware. They're very aware of it and watching it as well.
Yeah. But the problem is, all your organizations and everything, it still goes to the voters. And if they, and what's so sad to me is then the money that we have to raise to fight this stupidity could be used on enhancing, wildlife, enhancing the environment, doing more to protect fish. And so these very people who claim to want to protect these animals are going to waste millions and millions of dollars and force you to spend millions and millions of dollars to fight them. And they don't give a shit about animals, these animals. All they want is their ideology stroked so they can feel better about what they do and who they are.
The other side of this too is like they did on, Amy remembers when we were down at the state capitol on trying to get the hounds back, is this is also kind of taking everybody's eyes off of other things. And that's a tactic that they use. This is a deterrent. This is a distraction. When we were in there fighting on trying to get the hounds and stuff back, they slipped in a beaver bill on us and got it passed. So this is also as dumb as it looks, where we kind of laugh it off and stuff. We got to kind of look behind the curtains and watch what else that they are doing, because they're trying to slip stuff into the back.
What are they slipping in? What kind of things are they trying?
We don't know, but they always have something. They have, they slipped in the beaver bill on us to where now, starting this year, that we cannot no longer trap beavers on public land. And the way they made it sound was, it's just going to be some specific little areas and stuff. And then once it passed and we got the map, it's goddamn near the whole state. So it's irreversible now, just like with the hounds and the cougars. And so it's almost like these big, stupid, ridiculous bills are more of a distraction, knowing that it's probably not going to go anywhere and it's going to fight and they're going to put some effort to it. But what are they building up on the background?
So Amy, who's watching the background then? Well, and right now probably nobody, because we have such a a partisan, or not a partisan, what is it I'm trying to think? Such a super majority. So you've got the Democrats in such a super majority. And I'm sorry, Democrats. Yes, I am blaming you, but it is your fault. And you have a super majority because you cheated forever. And so we have no balance in Oregon. So none of those rural people or city people who hunt and fish and recreate that way and find enjoyment out of that and are even considered. They have no voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult. And to Eric's point, it is interesting because it's a little bit like 3D chess sometimes, because this is an initiative petition. So it's outside of the Capitol, but it still overshadows a lot of what happens in that building.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is very much trying to keep a 30,000-foot view of everything that's happening, while also being ready to engage at a very precise level on each of the individual ones. So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort for people to be watching what's happening, what's being messaged. Are we hearing potential, new potential things that are being thrown in the mix? And so it's an ongoing thing to try to protect hunting, fishing, trapping. That's a constant, really.
So, Adam, I know you're not overly political, but you're aware. I know what you just don't get too political, but how important is it, for people in Oregon we have a shot. I say we, because I'm still an Oregonian at heart, but you have a shot at a new governor, at bringing the legislature a little closer to a balanced situation where it's not a super majority. I think Oregonians prove to themselves. What a rock star group of people, of Oregonians, 250,000 signatures to overturn and take that tax measure and give it to Tina Kotek and stick this where the sun doesn't shine, because you dragged your feet for a month. You tried to make it so we couldn't get it. You never thought we would. And I bet you cried all night in Mahonia Mansion, oh my God, to your wife, because you got screwed because you didn't pay attention and you weren't paying attention. Well, I think Oregonians have a chance that they could just shake up the state and stop all this kind of crap. Because this is not Oregon that all of us grew up in. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oregon does have an opportunity for change coming up, and I hope that good things happen.
Yeah, me too. I hope people take the opportunity. Amy, so give us some last minute. What can people do again? Give them their first, tell people about this. So, and don't let them, just tell people not to sign it. So when these people come up to them, don't sign it.
Yes. Make sure that obviously what you're hearing here, that you're letting your family members, your friends, everybody know what an egregious thing this would be for this to pass and even to make the ballot, because it's going to bolster them if they make the ballot. One of the frustrations I have is that the proponent likes to compare this to the women's suffrage movement in Oregon, which just annoys me greatly. His point in that is that that was on the ballot 6 different times before it passed. And so he uses that to say that how willing they are to continue this and to come back again and again. And so what we need to do is get everybody educated so that everybody knows exactly what this would do, and nobody sign the petition, because the way to stop this is for everybody to be smart and to just not be giving signatures. Now, if it does make the ballot, the way, again, I would love to give this the biggest smackdown in Oregon's history, and have the entirety of the state stand up and say no to this measure. But we do that by educating everybody. So making sure that everybody knows exactly what this would do. Decline to sign, especially if you're in more of a populated area, the Portland metro area. Obviously, I saw folks in Salem. I've heard of them in Eugene. So really making sure that the areas, the people in those areas understand that. And then be ready, be willing to stand up in the summer here in July if we find that this makes the ballot, and join all of us that are going to be standing up campaigns against this. So that's what I would hopefully leave folks with. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Oregon Hunters Association. We do have the webpage that has a bunch of information on that. It's pretty simple to find from our website. So if you need information, reach out and get it, and then share it with everybody around you.
Any last parting shots from the other two of you? Eric, Adam, anything else you want to say?
I think Amy pretty much wrapped it up. Is we got to get exposure to it. That's the biggest thing. We got to get correct exposure to it. The way it's being played out right now is it's like you said, the animal cruelty thing, but it's really nothing about that. And like you said, it's nothing about the animals. It's all about winning over the votes and getting what they want when they don't have to deal with it. So we got to get exposure out there, what it means, even if it hits a ballot, because then we're just stepping into the ring at that point, and we've already been kicked in the nuts. So we need to not even let it get the signatures. And like Amy said, if it does, I hope it doesn't, but if it does, we need to just slap the shit out of it when it hits the Capitol floor. But let's not even let it get that far. And exposure is the biggest thing. The Cougar thing that I do, exposure was the biggest ally that I have, is letting people know the truth about it. So it's going to be the same on this bill, is letting people know exactly what this bill means. No hunting, no fishing, no livestock. You can't even have chickens for eggs. It's ridiculous, and people, I fear that people look at it and go, oh, that's so ridiculous. I'm not even going to worry about that. That's not going anywhere. But the fact of the matter is, since November, it needs 117,000 signatures, and since November, it's already got 87,000. So, and this is going to run until June. So we are already way farther than I ever thought it would even went, and even I kind of went, "Oh shit, this isn't good." So we're at 87,000 signatures right now. They need 117 to put it in the Capitol, and sadly they're well on their way, and we need to stop that.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody asked a good question. Is ODF, what is ODF and W? Are they taking a position on this at all, or can they, or have they said anything?
They cannot take a position on it as an agency, but they're very aware of the ramifications that it would have for them.
Okay. Hey, Amy, thanks you guys so much for coming on here and talking about this. I appreciate your time. And Eric, you too, and Adam, thanks for what you do. And let's do this again in a couple months. It's my time, so it doesn't matter. And I want people to know what's going on. And if you do get Amy a story with our young woman, and there's more to that, I do video stuff. I'd love to talk with her. And I think there could be a really interesting story there about what people care about and that kind of thing. So we could talk later, but I think there's something really powerful there. All right, gentlemen and woman, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I'm going to give a few parting shots and instructions to my people, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. All right, you guys. So tomorrow night, Ed Deal is going to be on our show. And I know there's a bunch of stuff going all over the internet about it, and I can't say anything, but you tune in here and we'll see what happens. We're going to actually talk about this FACO sales tax they're trying to push in the legislature, kind of coming around the back door. And another topic that he and I were discussing. And then he just happens to be having a meeting tomorrow night at 6:00 where he's got some surprise announcement. So we'll find out what that's all about. But if you don't know Ed, you should tune in tomorrow and find out more about what he's all about. Another thing is I kind of resist doing this. I saw somebody on here, telling me to F off and all this kind of stuff. I think the new way I'm going to handle the trolls and the brainless people that come on here is they need attention. And the problem is I love to square off with them, but I think I'm feeding the trolls. And what would be better is to not mention their names, because that makes them get, a little excited and a little dopamine hit. And then they get all excited because somebody in the world is paying attention to them. So from here on out, I would recommend the same to you guys. If somebody comes on and just starts ragging about stuff and doesn't have a real question, just ignore them. Don't even comment back. I know you're sticking up for me. I don't need to be stick up for. I have whatever. I can handle myself. But I'm going to start ignoring those people because they don't really matter and their opinions aren't really valid. And most of them are just lonely, sad, stupid people who have no life. And all they want to do is come on and rip somebody else apart. So that's not America. And if we're really I know this is like holy water when you throw it on a demon. But if you say, I think we're really going to make Oregon great again. And that person is, they can't take it. So we're going to throw holy water at them and they can continue to spew and venom and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to have an atmosphere where they get any attention for that. I'm watching this stuff going on in the church in Minnesota. I heard the tapes today, and those people sounded demonic, screaming in that church. And I hope every one of them gets arrested, and Don Lemon especially, and put in jail. Punish these people for breaking the law. Do you guys know about that law? So there's this FACE law. Then they came up with this to the Biden administration to stop people from protesting outside abortion clinics. And but the Republicans wouldn't sign it unless it also included synagogues, churches, and mosques. So what those people did is illegal. They broke federal law, and they went into a place and they were asked to leave, which is that now they're trespassing. And so all of them should be made an example. Until our country starts punishing people for acting like assholes, they're going to continue to act like assholes. And I don't know about you, but I'm just done. I'm done with it. I want to get back to a world where we care about one another and we treat people with respect and we ask them questions. We don't come on their page and say, "You're a fucker." You know, this isn't middle school. We're grown-ups, and we don't need to act like that. And all that shows us is that they have nothing to offer, no argument, nothing. They just call names, and I'm done with it. So I want you to be done with it too. So you're free to not answer those people. They're not hurting me, and I don't care. And so I don't want you to care. We have topics like this that are important that we want to bust open, and they're afraid of us. That's the bottom line. So anyway, share this on your page so other people see it. And remember, tell your friends, don't sign IP28, and then tell them what it is. Okay? All right. Have a good night.